Long, long ago, there was a man named Jacob. He lived in the land of Canaan. He had 12 sons, and Joseph was the 11th. When Joseph was 17 years old, this story began. Jacob loved Joseph the most. He made Joseph a beautiful coat. His brothers were very jealous. One night, Joseph had a dream. He and his brothers were binding crops in the field. Suddenly, his bundle stood up, and his brothers' bundles bowed down to it. Joseph told his brothers about the dream. They said, "Do you want to be our king?" From that day on, they hated Joseph even more. Joseph had another dream. This time, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed down to him. When he told it to his father, he rebuked him. "What is this dream? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down before you?" And his father quietly thought about the dream. Joseph's brothers were grazing the flocks, far away from home. Jacob said to Joseph, "Go and see if your brothers are doing well." Joseph started right away. A few days later, his brothers saw Joseph coming from far away. They said, "Here comes the dreamer. Let's kill him and say that some wild beasts killed him." Reuben, the eldest brother, heard this and said, "Let's not take his life. Just throw him into a deep pit." He said this to rescue him later. The brothers grabbed Joseph and took off his coat and threw him into a deep pit. It was empty and there was no water in it. Before long, they saw a caravan coming. Judah said, "What will we gain if we kill Joseph? He is our own brother after all." They pulled him out and sold him to the merchants. The brothers killed a goat and dipped Joseph's coat in blood. They came home and showed it to their father. Jacob cried, "This is my son's coat. He was surely torn to pieces by a wild beast." Jacob mourned for Joseph for many, many days. Joseph was taken to Egypt and sold to Potiphar, Pharaoh's official. Joseph worked hard. Everything he did went well because God was with him and blessed him. Potiphar put Joseph in charge of everything. Now 10 years had passed. Joseph became strong and handsome. Potiphar's wife told Joseph to sleep with her. Joseph said, "My master trusts me. You're his wife. How could I do such a thing and sin against God?" She asked him again and again, but Joseph said no. One day, Joseph went into the house to do his work. No one was there except Potiphar's wife. She grabbed Joseph's coat and said, "Come to bed with me." But Joseph ran away. She screamed, "Joseph tried to rape me." When Potiphar came home, his wife showed the coat to him. She said, "That Hebrew slave you brought here, he tried to rape me." Potiphar became very angry and put Joseph in prison. Even in prison, God was with Joseph. God showed him kindness and favor. The prison keeper put him in charge of the prisoners. 2 of Pharaoh's officials were put in prison. They had strange dreams. Joseph saw them and asked, "Why do you look so worried?" The cupbearer said, "I had a dream. I saw a vine with 3 branches. I squeezed the grapes into Pharaoh's cup." Joseph said, "You will be restored after 3 days. When all goes well, please remember me." The baker said, "I had a dream too. 3 baskets of bread were on my head. Birds were eating the bread. Joseph said, "The dream is not good. In 3 days you will die." It was Pharaoh's birthday. The cupbearer was restored to his job. The baker was put to death. Everything happened just as Joseph said, but the cupbearer forgot about Joseph. 2 years later, Pharaoh had a dream. 7 healthy cows came out of the river and grazed. Then 7 thin and ugly cows came out. The ugly cows ate up the healthy cows. Pharaoh woke up. Pharaoh had a second dream. 7 healthy grain grew on the same plant. Then 7 thin grain grew after them. The thin grain swallowed the healthy grain. In the morning, Pharaoh's mind was troubled. He called all the wise men and magicians. No one could explain the dreams. Then the cupbearer remembered Joseph. He told Pharaoh about Joseph. Pharaoh sent for Joseph right away. Joseph took a shower, changed his clothes, and went to Pharaoh. Pharaoh said, "I heard you can explain dreams." Joseph said, "God will give Pharaoh the answer." Pharaoh told Joseph his dreams. Joseph said, "God is showing what will happen. The 7 healthy cows and grain mean 7 good years. The 7 thin cows and grain mean 7 hard years." Joseph went on, "7 good years are coming. After that, 7 hard years will come. God will do it soon." Joseph gave Pharaoh advice. Choose a wise man and put him in charge. Collect grain during the 7 good years. When the 7 hard years come, open the storehouses. This plan will save lives. Pharaoh said, "God has shown all this to you. No one is as wise as you." Joseph was put in charge of all Egypt. From slave to ruler, God's plan came true. Pharaoh put his ring on Joseph's finger and dressed him in fancy royal clothes. He had Joseph ride in a special chariot. People shouted, "Make way!" Everyone bowed down to him. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "No one can act without your word." He gave him a priest's daughter as a wife. When all this happened, Joseph was 30 years old. There were 7 good years. The land produced a lot of food. Joseph collected huge amounts of grain and stored it in the cities. 2 sons were born to Joseph. Then the 7 hard years began. There was famine everywhere. But in Egypt, there was plenty of food. People came and asked Pharaoh for food, and he said, "Go to Joseph." In Canaan, there was a severe famine too. Jacob heard that Egypt had a lot of food. He sent 10 of his sons to buy grain. He did not send Benjamin because he was afraid to lose him. Joseph's brothers came and bowed down to him. Joseph recognized them immediately, but they did not know him. Joseph remembered his dream. Joseph shouted loudly, "You are spies!" The brothers said, "No, we are not spies. We came to buy food. We were 12 brothers from Canaan. The youngest is with our father, and one is no more." Joseph said, "You are spies. If you are not, prove it. One of you must go and bring your youngest brother. Until then, the rest of you will stay here in prison." After 3 days, Joseph said, "Do this, and you will live. One brother will stay in prison. The rest will take grain to your family. But you must bring your youngest brother to me." The brothers said to each other, "We are being punished for our brother. He begged us for his life, but we did not listen." Joseph understood what they were saying, but they did not know it. He turned away and began to weep. Then he had Simeon tied up. Joseph gave orders. Their sacks were filled with grain. Their money was secretly put back. On the way home, the brothers found the money. They turned to each other and trembled. When they returned home, they told Jacob what happened. Jacob said, "Joseph is gone and Simeon is gone. Now you want to take Benjamin. Everything is against me." Reuben said, "I will surely bring Benjamin back. If I fail, you can kill my sons." Jacob said, "No, he will not go. He is the only one left. If harm comes to him, you'll bring me down to the grave in sorrow." Time passed, and the famine became worse in Canaan. Jacob said, "Go buy some food." Judah said, "If you send Benjamin with us, we will go. But if not, we will not go." Jacob said, "Why did you tell him about Benjamin?" The brothers said, "He asked about our family. Is your father still living? Do you have another brother? We just answered his questions." Judah said, "Send Benjamin with me and we will go right now. I will guarantee his safety. If I do not bring him back, I will take the blame forever." At last, Jacob said, "Take the gifts to the man. Take extra money and return the money that was in your sacks. Take Benjamin and go." Jacob prayed, "Please show us mercy. Let Simeon be free. Bring Benjamin back safe." So the brothers took the gifts, the money, and Benjamin, and hurried down to Egypt. When Joseph saw Benjamin with his brothers, he said to his servant, "Take these men to my house. Prepare a meal." The brothers were afraid. They thought it was because of the money. The brothers said to the servant, "We brought the silver back." The servant said, "Don't worry about that. I got the money." Then he brought out Simeon. Joseph came to his house. The brothers gave him the gifts and bowed down. Joseph said, "How is your old father? Is he still living?" They said, "Yes, he is still alive and well." Joseph saw Benjamin. He said, "Is this your youngest brother, the one you told me about?" Then he could not hold his tears, so he ran out of the room and wept. After a while, he came back and said, "Serve the food." Joseph and the brothers were seated at different tables. The brothers had been seated in the order of their ages, from the firstborn to the youngest, and they were very surprised. Joseph gave them food from his table, and Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as everyone else's. They ate and were happy together. Joseph gave secret orders to the steward. "Fill their sacks with much food. put the money back. Then put my silver cup in the youngest one's sack. The next morning the brothers left. When they had not gone far, Joseph said to the steward, "Go after them at once. When you catch up with them, say, 'Why did you repay good with evil? You took my master's silver cup.'" The steward caught up with them and did what Joseph said. The brothers said, "We would never do anything like that. We even brought the money back. Why would we steal? If any of us has the cup, he will die, and the rest of us will be your slaves." The brothers opened their sacks, beginning with the oldest and ending with the youngest. The silver cup was found in Benjamin's sack. At this, the brothers were astonished and tore their clothes. Joseph was still in the house when his brothers came in. He said, "What is this you have done? A man like me can find out the truth." Judah said, "What can we say? How can we prove we are innocent? We are now your slaves, all of us." But Joseph said, "I would never do such a thing. Only the man with the cup will become my slave. The rest of you, go back to your father." Then Judah said, "You asked us about our family. We told you we had an old father and a youngest brother, and our father loved him very much." Judah continued, "You told us to bring the youngest. We said we could not come because our father would die without him. But you said we must bring him, so we went back and told our father everything." Judah went on, "After some time, our father told us to buy more food, but we said we could not go without Benjamin. Then our father said, 'One son is gone and has been torn to pieces. If harm comes to Benjamin, you will bring me down to the grave in misery.'" Judah explained, "Our father's life is closely tied to Benjamin's. If I go back without him, he will go down to the grave in sorrow." Judah begged, "Now please let me stay here as a slave instead of Benjamin. Let him go home with his brothers. How can I go back to my father without him? No, I cannot let my father die in sorrow." Then Joseph could not control himself. He told everyone else to leave the room. He cried so loudly that the Egyptians heard him, and even Pharaoh heard about it. Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still living?" But the brothers couldn't answer him because they were terrified. Joseph said gently, "Come closer to me." Then he said, "I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. Do not be afraid. It was God who sent me here to save lives. God made me ruler of Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and tell him, 'This is what your son Joseph says. God made me ruler of Egypt. Come and live near me. 5 years of famine are still to come. I will take care of you so that your family will not be hungry.'" Joseph looked at his brothers and said, "You can see that it is really me. Benjamin can see it too. Tell my father about the honor I have received in Egypt. Bring him here quickly." Then he hugged Benjamin and they wept together. He kissed his other brothers and wept with them too. When the news reached Pharaoh that Joseph's brothers had come, he was pleased. So he said to Joseph, "Tell your brothers, take carts and bring your father and your family here. Do not worry about your things. The best of Egypt will be yours." So Joseph's brothers went back to their father. They said, "Joseph is still alive. In fact, he is ruler of all Egypt." At first, Jacob was stunned and did not believe them. But when he saw the carts, his spirit revived. He said, "I'm convinced my son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him." So Jacob packed everything and left for Egypt. Before he went on, he stopped to pray to God. That night, God spoke to him in a dream. "Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt. I will make you into a great nation there. I will go with you and bring you back to Canaan. Joseph will close your eyes when you die." Meanwhile, Joseph rode in his chariot to meet his father. When he saw him, he ran to him, hugged him, and wept for a long time. Jacob said, "Now I am ready to die, since I have seen you alive." Soon after that, Joseph brought his brothers to Pharaoh. They bowed down before him. Pharaoh said, "What is your job?" They said, "We are shepherds. The famine is very severe in Canaan, so we came to stay here for a while. Please let us live in Egypt." Pharaoh told Joseph that his family could live in the best land of Egypt. Joseph brought Jacob to Pharaoh, and Jacob blessed him. Then Joseph settled his family there. During the famine, Joseph took care of them and gave them food according to the number of their children.